Drowning. Have you ever felt like you were drowning? Earlier in the summer, that was me. I was drowning.
Wow. I mean, we've all felt that way at some point in time, haven't we? I know I have.
Yeah, and it can look differently. Like, I mean, when I left my full-time position for the first time ever, surrendered into full-time speaking and writing, I felt like I was drowning in a sea of financial, just not even debt at that time, but just fear. The fear of what might happen. I mean, it was like, there were moments where, and I don't have anxiety, I'm not an anxious person normally, but that fear, it was literally like I was drowning at days, like I could not hardly take a breath. I mean, yeah, we just all, whatever, doesn't have to be water.
Right.
No, it doesn't have to be
Making
water.
us feel like we're drowning. So.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I just think about, even as a parent, like my daughter was already grown and had her own children, but things in her home weren't what they needed to be, you know. And as a parent watching that, I just remember feeling like I was drowning because, you know, you want to fix it.
Yeah.
And when you can't fix it sometimes, or I know for me, if I can't fix a certain situation, to me, I feel like I'm drowning because I don't have any control.
Yeah.
Right? And I want to have some control.
I like to have control.
Yes.
Me too.
I have recently really just understood that I am a control freak. I really would have not ever thought that. But I am bossy. I'm a take charge person. And I have discovered a big part of why I do that is because then I'm in control. I like being the boss. I like being in control.
Yeah. Me too.
Me too.
Yeah.
But I often fall short because I leave him out of my plans.
Me too.
Me too.
The end.
That were great friends. Thank you for joining. That's all we have for you.
We'll see you next week.
But that's the truth. I think everybody, I think if you're honest with yourself, would say we like to be in control, we like to boss, we like to. But here's the deal. I
Like
think
to know what's coming.
we like to know what's going on. That's what it is. And sometimes it's just that fear of the unknown.
Yeah.
And so we want to try to control as much as we can when we can.
Yeah.
But you know, you say you're bossy, but really it just all depends on the tone and how it's done. So, you know, like to me, I don't see you as bossy. Like
Well, you're just used to me.
I'm just used to you. You take over things and I'm like, yeah, okay. And if I don't like it, I'll say, nah, that's bad.
It's bad. Bad.
That's
bad.
right. Well, Michelle, tell us more about kind of what your story, what you wanted to share with us about the drowning, what God's put on your heart.
Well, when I was in the lake and I couldn't make any progress swimming and I couldn't figure out how I was going to breathe, I couldn't get back on the paddleboard. I tried floating on my back and the waves were just coming up, so I was inhaling water instead of air.
So, okay, hold on. We
Okay.
gotta give a little bit. We're at a lake together, the three of us,
Yeah.
with some other friends, and we're paddleboarding. I mean, we gotta get some history here. We're
Yes, we're
paddleboarding.
paddleboarding. Well, y'all were paddleboarding.
we had this.
You were
You were
I
paddleboarding.
was paddleboarding.
We had this whole thing like, don't waste an opportunity to try something new. And Michelle was like, no, I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to do it. And then we're like, Michelle, come on. Because you could just see the want to in the want to, you know? And so she's like, I'm coming in. I'm doing it. And she gets on that paddleboard. And y'all, if we might post that picture in the comments.
Yes, we'll do.
Because she is like living her very best life on this paddleboard.
Absolutely.
And that's how life is though, right? It's great. And then it's not.
Yeah.
It's great till it's not. And so now
Okay.
she gets about a football field away from the rest of the crowd. The waves are just crazy at the lake, washing her away, literally washing her away. And now pick up where I interrupted you because
Okay.
I've got bossy. It's bad.
So I was trying everything I knew to either get back to where y'all were or at least then to hold my head up above the water. And nothing was, I thought I could swim, but I hadn't swam in a lake without a life jacket before. But the current was too strong. I lost my balance on the paddleboard. The current was too strong for me to swim against it. And the waves were too big for me to float on my back and breathe. But I could hear you guys and some others. I could hear my name, and I could hear y'all talking, but I couldn't really hear. But then one voice cut through. It said, "I'm coming." I thought, okay, they're on their way. And then I don't remember a little bit in there, but I remember Denise swimming up, grabbing me from behind and saying, "I've got you." And I remember being able to breathe for the first time since I fell off that paddleboard. And then I was thinking, don't fight her, because you always read about when people are drowning, they fight the one that's trying to save
Well, the
them.
natural instinct is that's just what your body does.
So I was thinking, just do what she says and don't grab her. So,
Yeah. And you know, that's our natural, like you said, that's our natural instinct. And like, you know, there's something I've learned a long time ago in recovery. It says anytime we're in a position where that fear sets in like that, where we're so scared, we either want to fight, flee, or freeze. Fight, flee, or freeze. And so you froze, which was what you needed to do in the moment. You know, but what I just think about, like in other situations, when we're feeling like we're drowning, where we get in there and we do try to fight it, where you were trying to fight against that current, it didn't work. You tried to just rest on your back for a little bit, but that didn't work either. But sometimes we're in positions where we try to sit still, we try to wait on the Lord or whatever, and we don't know what it looks like, but the Lord will send us somebody to help us through whatever that trial is, or that trauma, or whatever it is we're going through. We never know how it's going to turn out. Like, God always will provide. It may not look the way we think it should, but that's why He's God, though, because He knows what's best.
It usually doesn't.
It usually doesn't. You're right.
What we think it should.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, that's good.
So,
So what scripture did you use?
When we got back, out of the water, we got back up to the house and just keep running. The words that kept running through my mind were, when you pass through the waters. When you pass through the waters. And that day I wasn't remembering the rest of the verse. I wasn't remembering where it was found. And then later, after I got home and I was telling the story, another friend of ours said, that's Isaiah 43. So I looked it up, and verse 2 says, when you pass through the waters, I will be with you. When you pass through the rivers, they will not sweep over. When you walk through the fire, you will not be burned. So it's like, wow. And usually we kind of stop right there, because then it starts talking about some other countries and stuff.
Hold on one second. So my translation, I'm in the New Living Translation, it says, when you go through deep waters.
It was deep water.
It was deep water.
It was deeper than 5'1".
That's right. And mine says you will not drown.
Yeah.
That's what the New Living Translation says.
Oh, wow.
And yours said the waters will not pass over you.
Right.
Yeah.
That's good. Anyway, sorry, go ahead.
No, that's okay. But when it talks about, he says, I'm the Lord your God, in verse 3 he says, for I'm the Lord your God, the Holy One of Israel, your Savior. I don't know about y'all, but for that's usually where I kind of quit reading that passage. But then I kept going, and verse 4 says, since you are precious and honored in my sight, and because I love you. When we got back up to the house after y'all pulled me out of the lake, I really expected, and it wasn't like I was upset and expecting or was anxious and expecting, but I expected to be teased and scolded. What were you doing? You should have known better than to get in that lake. You should have known you didn't know what to do on that paddleboard. We thought you said you could swim. That was what I fully was expecting to hear. And that's not what I heard for a minute.
Oh, it just breaks my heart that you would think that first off.
No, I mean, and it's not because of y'all.
No, but that's the expectation.
That was the expectation.
You were beating yourself up, expecting others to kick you while you were down.
But instead, I heard, we're so glad you're okay. And look what God did.
Miracle.
And you did the right thing because you didn't panic. And you did the right thing by rolling on your back. And y'all just loved and supported me and took care of me. And this verse 4, God's not saying, when you pass through the waters, I will be with you and you won't drown. Because look what a mess you got yourself into this time. Or, oh my gosh, there goes Michelle again. It says, because you are precious and honored in my sight, and because I love you.
That's good.
And I just stayed on that verse for days, because
I'm precious.
It's a whole new, it's a whole new perspective. And it's not just the drowning in the lake part.
Yeah.
I think all of us have mistakes in our past or things that we've done, things that God has brought us through, things that God has got us out of. That I've always thought of that as him sitting up there going, golly, Michelle, how stupid can you be? But no, it's because he loves us.
That's so
Because
good.
we're precious.
I love that. I remember in that moment that fear of watching my friend literally drowning and being so far away and not able to get to you. And I remember I had pushed the paddleboard, the other one, to Shelly, because I was trying to swim up the current to get the paddleboard to you, and I was going nowhere. And finally, I just launched it to Shelly, and she was for a little bit further closer to you, and I just remember thinking, I don't know how y'all made it. I don't know how you made it to her. And the next morning when Shelly had come up, and I don't know if y'all remember this, but she said, I was out there and I was just praying, and all I could think was BJ saying, I don't know how y'all made it. I don't know how y'all made it. And she said, I swear it was like the Lord just opened my eyes and I could just see us surrounded by angels just guiding us along to get to Michelle. Oh, look, I get goosebumps just thinking about that, and just thinking about how much you are so precious. Yeah. He loves you so much, and you have so much left to offer this world. And what a beautiful story. Scary, but what a beautiful story that was.
Such a beautiful story.
Such a beautiful story.
Just amazing.
Yeah. And like I've tried to tell the story to my husband and my kiddos when I got home, and they just don't get how dramatic it was and how traumatic it was in the moment. I'm like my friend almost drowned. Yeah. Like it wasn't like nothing. It was a big deal. She really almost drowned.
And when I first got back up on to the land, and I got a hold of Tammy's belt loop, and I think Becky was on one side and Eddie on the other, and they're like half carrying me up because I couldn't walk. My feet were all shaky. And I remember thinking, okay, maybe it wasn't as bad as I think. But then Denise, you told me that when you got to me that my eyes were just staring straight ahead and there was water coming out of my mouth. And then later Tammy said, because she had me write down everything that I remembered, and I sent it to her, and she said, you didn't write about us praying in the water when we got to you. I'm like, now that doesn't surprise me at all that would be the first thing y'all did. But I don't remember that at all. Yeah. She goes, but we weren't praying softly. I'm like, well, no, I don't think that either.
Yeah. Well, I just, from a different perspective of it, for Shelly and I were in the water, and we were already in the water. So we were actually headed to you before you had fallen off the paddleboard, because you were getting further and further away.
I couldn't get it turned around and make it go the right direction.
And we could see, we were like, I think she needs some help turning that thing around there. She's going the wrong direction here. And so we just start swimming, and we actually just look over at Tammy and them, and we were just like, we'll go out there. Yeah. But we're for a leisurely swim. Yeah. And we've already been in the water for a while, just treading water. And so when we literally say that, and we just take a couple of just start swimming, and we look up and we see that you're off of it, and then we just took off as fast as we can. And I'm just going to say, from a different perspective, and something maybe to leave everybody with today, is that we were swimming as hard as we could possibly swim, and we felt like we weren't going anywhere. Yeah. And we needed that other paddleboard, and the Lord had everyone there for a reason. We had people that didn't jump in the water, and there's no shame in that. They stood there and they prayed. And then we had BJ, who was in the water, and she grabbed that paddleboard and she pushed it off. And while she's pushing the paddleboard off, I just kept going while the other person, Shelly, got the paddleboard. But as I was swimming, I just got so tired that my body could not move anymore. And I just remember I was just praying. I would look at you, and when I'd see you on your back, I thought you were okay. So I would flip over on my back for a second, but I just started swimming backwards. I kept moving, But I flipped over, and I just remember trying to rest, and I was swimming backwards. I was like, Lord, please help me. Please give me strength. Lord, please give me strength. Because I knew that I didn't have it in me. And then when I look back at you, there you were starting to drown again. And so I'd get going, trying to go fast again. But my point is that, look, no matter what you're going through, you pray, you call out to the Lord, and you just keep going, because it wasn't my strength or Shelly's that got us there. It was the Lord. That is the only way we were able to reach her. And the Lord gave you the strength to just keep doing what you were doing, to keep your head above water. And sometimes in life, that's exactly what we feel like. We feel like we're barely got our head above water. But hold on. Just hold on. The Lord will send somebody your way. The Lord will meet you himself. He will snatch you right up out of that water. He will help you. And I had that moment. I've told several people this. I had that moment where I literally was in the water thinking, she's about to drown and I can't make it. I'm just going to have to stop. I can't get there. But at the same time I thought that, I knew there's no way in the world I could stop, because my friend is drowning. Yeah. And it's like, that's when I just started praying, Lord, give me the strength.
And the whole time that we were swimming towards her, she was continuing to drift further away.
Right.
So it's not like she just stopped and got still to drown. Right. She was still going.
Right.
And so it was just this constant battle of trying to get to her, and just that overwhelming fear that this is going to end badly. And I just want to take a second, and because this is good. Like, we have a beautiful story and our friend's alive. Mm-hmm. But maybe your friend didn't survive.
That's true.
Or maybe your spouse didn't survive, and maybe it wasn't in a lake. But whatever, you're crying out to God for help, and what you're looking at didn't send help. And that can be real hard to take. I always think about when I see big miracles like this, because sometimes the big miracle doesn't look like what we think. Sometimes it just isn't. That healing, that rescuing is not here on earth.
That's right.
And I just want to encourage you that breaks my heart for you, first of all, because we have all had loss as well. But God is still good, even when he doesn't answer the way we want him to answer.
That's right. He's worthy to be praised.
He's
in the
worthy
good
to be praised.
And the bad.
And even in the deepest, darkest brokenness, we are to lean not on our own understanding, and to try